Tashidelek, and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly feature in English that tells you about this week's news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines first. His Holiness the Dalai Lama expresses sadness over Assam and Bihar floods. Democracy is the biggest gift from His Holiness to his people, Swedish MP Carl Schlyter said. CDA President calls on U.S. Congress members in Southern California. CDA President completes Median Mexico visit. Tibet national football team qualifies for CONIFA World Football Cup 2018. On Monday last week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote to Sri Nitish Kumar, Chief Minister of Bihar, and Sri Sabarnanda Sonowal, Chief Minister of Assam, expressing his profound sadness at the loss of life and devastation of property, and offered his condolences to those families that have lost their loved ones and sympathy to everyone affected by the flooding. His Holiness wrote that he appreciated all the rescue and relief efforts that were being done and made a donation as a mark of his sympathy for the people of Bihar and Assam. On Saturday last week, the Tibetan diaspora across the world celebrated the 57th anniversary of the Tibetan Democracy Day. The jubilant occasion was celebrated at Tsuglakang Dharamshala. Honorable Kalin for Department of Religion and Culture, Venerable Karma Galek Yuto, read the Kashak statement of the Tibetan Democracy Day and spoke on the recent self-immolations and reminded people to stay alive, to fight for our cause and refrain from resorting to drastic actions such as self-immolation. Member of Parliament and Guest of Honor Carl Schlyter in his address said, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama did the most difficult thing which other leaders in the position of power would not dare to do. He gave away his power to his people as a gift in the form of democracy. There is a saying among our people which conveys that if you understand what your adversary wants, then you can always come to a mutual solution that is favorable to both sides. The saying is called the golden path of the middle way. Honorable Deputy Speaker of Tibetan Parliament in Exile, Acharya Yeship Pinzo said, the Tibetan democracy is particularly a special one, for it has been gifted by His Holiness the Dalai Lama with great ingenuity of method and compassion and has evolved on that fundamental basis. Shri Kaul Singh Thakur, Honorable Health and Family Welfare Minister of Himachal Pradesh and the chief guest of the function, in his address mentioned the importance of democracy and said that it is the best form of government since the power in a democratic form of government lies with the people, and with that opportunity we can elect a candidate of our choice who is better suited to carry out the basic functions of the government. The function also featured cultural performances and presentation of scholarships and awards to the meritorious students and the Tibetan Entrepreneurship Development Investment Award winners. On Friday last week, the President of Central Tibetan Administration, Dr. Lobsang Sangay, spoke at the Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. Democracy without borders is the Tibetan policy. At a mega level, the separation of church and state by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the robust Tibetan democracy in exile are the contribution that Tibetans are making to the world, he said. Speaking on Tibet, religion and politics, over 100 scholars and students, the President discussed the grim political and human rights situation inside Tibet and expressed his concern over the worsening human rights situation and the self-immolation protest. President Dr. Sangay also pointed the Tibet's significance as the third pole and as the water tower of Asia. On Monday last week, President Dr. Lobsang Sangay addressed a packed auditorium at the Santa Fe campus of the Monterey Institute of Technology and Higher Studies. In his address, Dr. Sangay spoke on the disastrous impact of the massive resource extraction operation of the Chinese government on the Tibetan plateau and the result of recession on the glacier and their impact on the global climate change. Dr. Sangay also spoke on the Chinese government's current strategic trade and foreign policy of One Belt, One Road and said that the world community should not fail to learn about the impact of the policy by studying the Tibetan case. He also informed the audience on the Tibetan administration's policy of middle way approach in resolving the issue of Tibet seeking genuine autonomy for the Tibetan people. On Friday last week, International Tibet Network organized the American regional meeting of Tibet groups in the heart of Mexico City from 1st to 3rd September. President of Central Tibetan Administration, Dr. Lobsang Sangay, while delivering his keynote address, applauded the hard work and the dedication of Tibet supporters. Dr. Sangay said the Tibetans and the Tibet supporters have the responsibility to make the Tibet issue relevant and strengthen Tibetan activism and campaigns around the globe. Representative of Latin American countries, Sewang Pinzo, spoke on the status of the Tibetan movement in the Latin American countries and on the CTA's priorities in those regions. Sonam Samo, Tibet Support Group Liaison Officer of Department of Information and International Relations, led a session reviewing the action plans which were adopted during the 7th International Tibet Support Group Conference held in Brussels. The Tibet national football team is all set to participate in the World Football Cup 2018 in London next summer. At least 16 teams from 4 continents will be participating in the 2018 edition, making it the biggest tournament ever played outside of FIFA. The tournament will officially begin on 31st May 2018 and the final match is scheduled for 9 June 2018. The World Football Cup is organized by Confederation of Independent Football Associations, the international governing body for the non-FIFA affiliated association for football. So much for this week. See you next time. Have a great weekend.